Today we're going to hear Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 from Who Was Gandhi? Chapter 2, London Lawyer. Mohandas Gandhi packed up and said goodbye to his family, including Kasturbai and their new baby son, Harlal. He headed to Bombay, India, where he would board a ship to London, England. Before he left Bombay, the leaders of Bania caste called him into a meeting. Traveling overseas was against the caste's rules. They thought he would be tempted to break the rules of Hinduism while in England. If he went, then he would be kicked out of the Bania caste and treated as an untouchable. Courageously, Gandhi still went. He was only 18 years old when he set sail from Bombay on September 4th, 1888. Gandhi had a hard time fitting into a country so unlike his own. Everything was strange. The people, their ways, and even their dwellings, he later wrote. He tried hard to become an English gentleman. He spent a lot of money on a new suit, a top hat, silver-tipped cane, and leather gloves. He took lessons in manners, dance, French, and violin like the other Englishmen. But none of that helped his loneliness and his homesickness. Eating in London was hard for Gandhi, too. Before he left India, he had promised his mother that he would not eat meat, but finding vegetarian meals in London was difficult. Since Gandhi was shy, he didn't ask his hosts or waiters if they could make other choices for him, and vegetables tasted bland without the spices of home. The caste system in India. In traditional Hinduism and Indian culture, people were divided into different social levels or castes. Religious priests and teachers made up the highest caste called Brahmins. Next came, and I don't even know how to say that name properly, but the warriors and the royalty. Gandhi's family belonged to the next caste, the Vaishyas, in a smaller subgroup called the Modbanias. This caste included landowners, merchants, and farmers. The Sudras made up the lowest caste. They were workers and craftsmen. People could not marry members outside their caste, and they were not even allowed to share a meal with them. One group of people were considered so low that they were outside the caste system. They were called untouchables. Untouchables had the dirtiest jobs, such as sweeping streets, cleaning up human waste, and handling garbage. In 1950, untouchables were given equal rights under law. Today, the term Dalit refers to those once called untouchables. The caste system is no longer a part of the everyday fabric of modern India, and even though discrimination against Dalit individuals is against the law, many still face prejudice, especially in rural areas. Gandhi took long walks through the city. On one of these walks, he came upon a vegetarian restaurant on Farringdon Street. Gandhi had finally found a place to eat. This discovery also introduced him to a whole community of vegetarians in London. He became a member of the London Vegetarian Society. Gandhi completed his studies at University College and passed his law exams on June 10, 1891. The London Vegetarian Society held a farewell dinner in his honor. Gandhi had prepared a speech, but he was so shy and nervous that he couldn't read it. All he could get out was an uncomfortable thank you. 2 days later, he set sail for home. He had only been in London for 3 years, but the lessons he learned about law and about himself would set him on his future path as a spiritual and political leader. Chapter 3. An Unwelcome Visitor. Gandhi returned to India. Bombay Harbor greeted him with rough and choppy waters. Gandhi's older brother, Laxmidius, greeted him with sad news. Their mother had died when Gandhi was away. Coming back home was not easy for Gandhi. His caste would not accept him. To please his brother, Gandhi agreed to bathe in the sacred Godavari River to wash away the sins of England. He was then readmitted to the caste. But his home life was full of arguments with Kasturbai. Gandhi had tried to teach her new English traditions of cooking and eating and dressing. Gandhi went to find work in Bombay, but he soon found that he was still too shy to be a lawyer. As he stood up to present his very first case, my head was reeling, and I felt as though the whole court was doing likewise. He set up an office in Rajkot where he could work at his desk instead of in a court. Then Gandhi received some good news. A merchant from Porbandar was living in South Africa. He needed a lawyer for a court case there. The job would last 1 year. Gandhi decided to give it a try. Although he and his wife had recently welcomed a new baby boy named Menalal into their family, Gandhi left his wife and 2 young sons under Laxmidius's care and set out for Durban, South Africa in April 1893. A week after he arrived in South Africa, Gandhi traveled to Pretoria for his court case. He had a first-class ticket on the train. During the journey, the train stopped at the Maritzburg station at about 9 in the evening. A European man entered the car. He did not like seeing an Indian man in first class. The man left and came back with a railway official. The official ordered Gandhi to go back to the third-class car. Gandhi showed them his ticket. He refused to leave the first-class car. The European man left again and came back with a policeman who promptly kicked Gandhi off the train. Gandhi stood alone in the Maritzburg station platform as the train pulled away. The rest of the trip to Pretoria did not go much better. On a horse-drawn carriage, the white passengers did not want an Indian inside the coach with them. The coach leader told Gandhi to sit on the footboard, the small step that people used to get inside. The insult was more than I could bear, Gandhi wrote. When Gandhi finally arrived in Pretoria, he called the Indian community together for a meeting. He could no longer be timid. My speech at this meeting may be said to have been the first public speech in my life, he said. He shared his ideas about how Indians could improve their lives. He spoke about the need for fair treatment of Indians in South Africa. He knew he could go back to India, or he could stand up for his rights and the rights of Indians in South Africa. He decided to stay. Why did so many Indians live in South Africa? When Gandhi was a young man, the British and the Dutch governed different parts of South Africa. Cape Colony and Natal were British colonies. Dutch settlers, the Boers, controlled the territory of the Transvaal and Orange Free State. In the 1860s, many Indians came to Natal to work on the sugar and the coffee plantations. More Indians arrived working as merchants, and Indian communities grew. The British saw them as a threat to their businesses. By 1894, in Natal, Indians outnumbered whites, 43,000 to 40,000. So to control the Indian population, the British passed laws that limited their equality and their rights. This is where I will end today, as I've read Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. Tomorrow I will read Chapter 4 and Chapter 5. Thank you for listening.